Booker the drive, gets inside, leads in, knocked away and stolen by Holiday. Phoenix has the foul, and a foul, throws it down. And a foul. Working against Butler, got downhill, couldn't punch it. Bam says, get it out of here. Adebayo, sky high with the block and rejection. That's why he's NBA All-Defensive Team. Caldwell Pope inside, he's tied up by Green. Throws it back up top, James puts up the three. Oh, it's gone! LeBron James from downtown as the shot clock expires.
Gets it into Durant. Here is Durant moving on Tucker. He turns, he shoots.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Deep Takes from 3, presented by the Athletes Hub. Today, special edition, Deep Takes from 2. We're hitting a bunch of 19-footers. My name is Gary Fraser, joined as always by Isaiah Hansen, whose notifications are a-buzzing with some NBA news, I'm sure. We got a lot to talk about today. We've had a little hiatus. We're back in action, ready to go. Isaiah, how have you been?
I'm doing great. I swear the whole reason for the hiatus of the show had nothing to do with my Knicks struggles or the trade deadline or anything. I was not scared to face the noise. It was nothing to do with that. We're pulling a deep take from 2 in honor of DeMar DeRozan, right? So
that is true. This MVP candidate. We might get to that a little bit later, but today we are going to be focusing on a couple of topics. I will say, though, our hiatus, All-Star Weekend, we needed to break ourselves. I mean, come on. We can't be doing this. We're grinding. We're doing all of our stuff. We had to take a little bit of a break. But some teams over the course of the last couple of weeks have done the absolute opposite. We have a team up north in Philadelphia who has made a pretty substantial move this season with, the addition of James Harden, MVP candidate for the past couple of years, former MVP winner, pairing him up with Joel Embiid. And of course, we'd be the worst basketball podcast on the planet if we didn't immediately start talking about it. Isaiah, I know you struggled to watch it a couple of days ago against your Knicks. I know they've destroyed the Timberwolves. James Harden has looked absolutely absurd against as a current Philadelphia 76er. In 2 games with the 76ers, he's averaged 28 points, 9 rebounds, 14 assists on 58% from the field and 57% from 3. First reactions to the Joel Embiid James Harden duo. I know you saw some clips online the last couple of days. That pick and roll is insane. What are you thinking about that pairing? I know we speculated a lot about them after the trade, but we finally got to see them.
So I only caught 1 game since they've been back. The first one, the debut, that was the only important game to watch. It was very good. It was very good. Look, let me tell you this. I was thinking, as I'm watching the game, as you're seeing them flow together, I'm like, has there been a better, I'm almost ready to start putting them in the best duos. And it's only been 2 games. Well, 1 game, but it's only been 2 games already. But I'm just like, these guys complement each other so well. I don't know if Joel Embiid could ask for a better guy to team up with right now based off who is available, unless hypothetically you could get a Steph Curry or somebody like that. But getting James Harden really worked out. And as for Harden, is there a better teammate? I know they had Kevin Durant, Kyrie, but you're talking about a big man. You do your thing, I'm gonna do my thing, and we're gonna just score 30. They're not getting in each other's way either. This is really good. This is what happens when you take a really top guard and pair it with a top center. We haven't really seen much of that, in terms of a center that could do his own thing. I know, comes to mind Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, but Gobert's more of a defensive guy, and he's not always guarding Jared Vanderbilt, as Patrick Beverly put it. So, but I think it's really scary. Now, I'm not going to go too far. I mean, the farthest I'll go is saying, like, look, they're on their way to possibly being like a top 3 duo in the league, but I'm not ready to give them championship aspirations yet. We'll get to that later. But no better way to start off than 2 really good games, and Harden looks rejuvenated, and Embiid finally gets the Ben Simmons weight off his shoulders, and he's playing an MVP season, so he deserves it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think you nailed it right on the head when you mentioned the 2 of them together as a pairing could not fit better. I mean, you have a guy in James Harden who is his main way of getting offense is isolation. And same with Joel Embiid. And when you put the 2 of them together and the ability for you to go your turn, my turn, in a sense, but within the flow of your offense, you are able to just do so much on the offensive end of the basketball because you have 2 guys who on their own can work through a double team. They can go 1v1 against literally anybody in the league. No one's going to stop them. And if they do, they're going to probably foul them, as we saw in the last 2 games. I think I read the other day, Joel Embiid has a 0.3 free throw attempts per minute, which is literally every 3 minutes he's on the court, he's shooting a free throw. That's just absolutely absurd. You can't stop these 2, and their games complement each other so well. When James Harden needs to take a little bit of a backseat and rest his legs a little bit, you've got a MVP, possible winner this season, with the ability to just put the team on his back like he has the last couple of months. I saw this stat from ESPN Stats Twitter account. Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Tyrese Maxey have combined for 176 points in their first 2 games together. The only trio with more points in their first 2 games together is Wilt Chamberlain, Paul Arizin, and York Laraise with 193 in 1961, which basically means, and if you look at those stats, which I did because I'm a nerd, it was basically just Wilt. So they added York Laraise there kind of as like a consolation just because, the stat, people in the NBA world love to cherry pick stats. So I just thought that was an interesting one. Are you I know we just spent about 7 minutes hyping this team up. Do you have any reservations with where this is a new team? A lot of times we see consistency win in the playoffs, and I know that it's really hard. I mean, ask the Cavs in 2018. Ask the Lakers this year how hard it is to just straight up, all right, we're going to just bring in a whole new group of guys and we're going to be title contenders. Do you see that being an issue for the 76ers this season?
You said it, this season. Yes. This season.
Okay. Yeah. I got you.
Now next season, I mean, this is big because look, I'm not going to put either guy in my top 5, like in terms of favorite players and just fun to watch and whatever. James Harden, like you said, he's on the free throw line every 3 minutes. So it's like, the game kind of can get long here and there. But I'm not as worried about them as I should be. Like for a team getting together, it's only been like less than a week that they've been playing together. And I'm like, I got to say yes by default, because we're so close to the playoffs in a sense, like it's kind of hard to just mesh all of a sudden, but they're doing it. And by the way, disrespect on my end for not mentioning Tyrese Maxey, who is the guy that completes this, by the way. I wouldn't be as optimistic as I am without him, by the way. So I thought I should say that. And by the way, Thibault too, bringing his defense. That's the 76ers are really good right now. They did as best as they could with the Ben Simmons situation. I mean, it took a long time, but hey, you got James Harden, and now you have a real championship contender. But of course, I'm going to say it, and we're all thinking it. We just don't want to face the reality because we just want to see them play. But health is always an issue with both of these guys. And I also worry what happens with James Harden when he gets to the playoffs, when those shots stop falling. Do they have enough of a safety net to fall back on? And in terms of who they're facing too, I expect, by the way, Ben Simmons and Kevin Durant, I expect that to be a really nice duo if they do play. And then I'm not sleeping on the Bucks yet. The Bucks are still a well-oiled machine. I understand, like, it's not as flashy anymore, but once you get to the playoffs, all bets are off. It doesn't matter what you've done in the regular season. So next year, different story, but this year, I'm not quite. I might have like at least 2 or 3 teams ahead of them, like in the East, before I crown.
Yeah, you got to think like with a team that's put together this quickly with a couple of other teams that still are, they're going through the dog days of the NBA season right now, the Bucks, the Heat, although those are teams that still have championship aspirations like the Brooklyn Nets, like the Chicago Bulls, like the Boston Celtics, who I've been coming up a lot recently. The 76ers have a lot to get through, especially when you mentioned it as well, when it comes playoff time, with their free throws being a main way that they're getting to get buckets in general, both Embiid and Harden. I think you literally, you must have gotten my notes before we did this podcast, because right under here, I have still nervous, free throw issues come playoffs, Harden falling off in the playoffs, and Embiid injury problems. So you added Harden in that. One thing I do want to emphasize when it comes to that team is their coaching. Doc Rivers, although he is a legendary coach, one of the main issues he's had in his coaching career is rotationally, he has a tendency to just put 5 bench guys out on the floor. You saw it with the Boston Celtics in 2008 and 2009 and 10 when they were winning when they won their championship in 08, and they try to go on many runs after that. You look at it in the court and you're like, this team has Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen, and none of them are on the court right now, and there's really no reason for it. If Doc Rivers can figure out a way to stagger the minutes between Joel Embiid and James Harden, I think they have a chance at least to get to the second round, maybe Western Conference Finals this year. I don't think they have the chemistry issue. They have the chemistry as all these other teams do. Specifically, a team that I think that we should start talking about a little bit more when it comes to some surprises. Moving on to our next topic, I've asked you a question earlier. Is there a team that you're a little bit worried about, a little nervous about this season when it comes to the playoffs? I was interested to see who you might be a little skeptical about coming in a big playoff run this year.
Listen, I was kind of tempted to say Warriors, but I've been on that train since the beginning, and I'm going to go down with the ship, okay? The only reason why I'm concerned, by the way, there is just health. So I'm going to just copy and paste. Yeah. Like same thing with the Knicks, until they gave me no other reason but to doubt them. Over. So I'm going to copy and paste their argument and put it on the Suns, the Phoenix Suns, just because the expectations are so high. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could go here that are like 5th, 6th seed, but I don't think their expectations is as high as the Suns. I mean, we may not have them in their favorites to win the finals, but in their minds and in their franchise minds, you're sitting at the top of the division. I mean, the conference. Sorry, baseball. Sitting on top of the conference. You're expecting to win a championship. And if you're Chris Paul, you're expecting to win a championship. So unfortunately, with him going down and expected to miss, was it 4 to 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, he is expected to be out for at least until probably about a week or two before the season ends.
Yeah, so that's such a tall task to ask of him, especially if they go against a team that I'm thinking they could possibly face in the 8th seed, which I haven't thought about it. And that's assuming they can manage to hold on to that 1st seed, which, by the way, I'm not too sure that they will. They do have some breathing room to do. It just depends on how Devin Booker steps up. But the Suns already had a tall task, if healthy, going into the playoffs. And now you expect CP3 to come back and just kind of right away just jump right into it. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, I think they were never my favorites to begin with, but they were easily a top 2, top 3 coming out of the West. Do I still have them there? Yes, but the gap has gotten a little bit farther between them and everybody else, in my opinion.
Yeah, with Chris Paul out, it's a little hard to take. I mean, I know their record is probably a little bit better than we think with Chris Paul out. I know I've seen those stats before. Devin Booker is absolutely absurd, and there's no doubt about it that this team defensively can just destroy any offensive attack any night of the week. But the problem comes with the playoffs. I mean, we saw them last year. They were very, very good, and then they got into the kind of, we need to protect the paint a little bit more. We need to do a couple of things on the defensive end to stop the Bucks. And when it came to a superstar like Giannis, he was able to push through the good regular season team of the Phoenix Suns. I still believe in them as a title contender. I still believe in Devin Booker. I'm writing an article right now where I call Devin Booker possibly one of the best shooting guards in the NBA. And I have him number 2 in my personal opinion. But yeah, I just honestly, I agree with your statement, especially with CP3 out. There's a lot to be concerned about this Suns team, and especially late in the playoffs. If Chris Paul isn't 100%, I'm not as hype on this Bucks team or on this Suns team. I'm sorry, I'm already getting ahead of myself. I was going to talk about the Bucks next. I'm also not hype on the Bucks team right now. They lost last night to the Brooklyn Nets without Kevin Durant, which is never a good sign when you are a championship contender team and you are with your 3 best players. And the Brooklyn Nets had basically just Kyrie Irving last night, and who dropped 38, 5 and 5. Absolutely insane game. But you look at the Bucks record these last 5 games, they've lost 4 of their last 5. Since basically the middle of February, they've been one of the worst defenses in the league, and they're 24th in defense in February. And that's with Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday playing minutes for him. Over the season, it's just been pretty smooth sailing for this Bucks team when all 3 of them have played. But as of recent, it's been a little concerning. And I wanted to just point out a couple of things that I noticed from this Bucks team is that I'm not quite sure what their injury list looks like. I'm just looking at their box score from last night, for example. But their bench unit is just not putting up any stats whatsoever that they need. You had DeAndre Bembry, Javon Carter, and Jordan Nwora all play 27 collective minutes last night without scoring a single point. And when you're a championship contending team, especially in the East, as good as it is this year, one of the main things that is an issue is this: if when your stars are out and your Giannis isn't like on the court, he needs a couple of minutes to rest the game because although he looks like a superhuman, he's not Superman. He has to rest a little bit. Same with Chris Middleton, same with Drew Holiday. And I know they've had Brook Lopez out for a good portion of the season. But for me, it's just really concerning, the bench production on this team. I'm worried specifically for those dog days of the 4th, 5th. I say dog days a lot. There's a lot of dogs and a lot of days, my friend, especially in the playoffs. And sometimes a dog does have his day. So we might see a couple of Bucks games go in their favor, even if their bench lineups don't play that well. But that is a concern for me. Looking back on it, I talked about it during our trade deadline podcast. I was actually pretty happy with the Serge Ibaka trade to the Bucks, but 8 points, 4 rebounds last night, not a terrible display. I didn't catch that game, so I'm not quite sure defensively how he played. I would love to tell you that he was 2012 Serge Ibaka, but that was also 10 years ago, and I'm not an idiot, so I don't believe he would ever be anything like that. But I'm just a little concerned about this Bucks team. I want to switch it to you for a little bit of positivity in this regard. Is there a team in the last couple of weeks, I guess, going forward, that you feel pretty happy about, like a team that you're a little bit higher on than maybe most people, or have some sort of a deep playoff run that you might be, interested in seeing them make?
Okay. So I read the question different. Okay, I read the question.
Okay. Sorry. What you got?
So I have an underdog, but in a sense where it's the opposite of what you just said, where things are so bad, just about as bad as it could possibly get for the team, where it's like you can only really go up from here. And no, I'm not talking about my Knicks. I wish I was. But
playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
Once we get to the playoffs, there's one team that you just cannot roll out until the very end. There still is a team that if they get there and this guy decides to step up and things just click, that all of a sudden they're a threat. And by the way, Warriors and Suns from the West, that's Carlos. He's one of actually do a show with him temporarily. We do like a Knicks show. He was there last week for us. Really good contributor. He loves talking basketball. He hates Tom Thibodeau. Really good guy.
Shout out Carlos and his Tom Thibodeau hate.
Yes. So I'm scared to say it. Matter of fact, I'm doing this for Devin, by the way. Dev paid me.
Oh no, are you really gonna do this?
I am. The Lakers.
Oh,
the Lakers.
God.
And I have and
Oh,
look, this
no.
is like faith-based almost. Just because I've lost all hope when it comes to the Knicks, and I'm hoping for Carmelo Anthony that something changes. I need some type of victory this season. So Carmelo Anthony having some type of success. Again, no reason to believe it at this juncture other than there is that one guy over there, LeBron James, that if he gets to the playoffs and depending who he faces in the first round, if it's a beatable team, you could gain some momentum and you can move on. And all of a sudden, Westbrook can maybe – I've been thinking about this, okay? Westbrook
It sounds like you have. It sounds like you've been dreaming a lot, my man.
I've been thinking about this, okay? Westbrook trying to be the third option, the second option. What if that shouldn't be the case anymore? What if LeBron starts deferring to the energy of Russell Westbrook and cleans up his mess? Okay? Cleans up his mess. And who's capable of cleaning up? Who used to clean up Russell Westbrook's mess once upon a time? And how far did they get in the playoffs?
I would like to say Kevin Durant at 24 years old is not LeBron James at 37 years old.
I understand.
And that's
there's veteran instinct here. There's been there, done that. Okay.
I see where you're getting at.
Am I picking them for the finals? No way.
I'm not sure I'm picking them for the play-in.
But I'm just saying it's one of those things that if it clicks all of a sudden, which is possible, these are great, these are great players, And I've been wanting to talk about Russell Westbrook for a while because I feel like he's been unfairly hated. And I've told you that before. I said, this is who he always was as a player. So to ask him to be something different, it's just not fair, Am I putting money on it? No. But is it possible that things just click? And if they do, are they favorites? Maybe.
I just worry. I mean, specifically, your point about the Lakers is if it clicks. And I just worry it won't. LeBron carried teams all his career. It's true. Carlos, you're not wrong. My man over here with the knowledge knows what he's talking about. LeBron James has carried hundreds of players to mediocre teams that basically LeBron is the only person alive that could do it. LeBron takes the Cavs to the finals every year for what? He made the Eastern Conference Finals. He made the finals in the Eastern Conference like 11 straight seasons, 9 straight seasons, something absolutely absurd like that. And that's with a bunch of different cats on the team. You got, a couple of good players, and you get Anthony Davis healthy. I mean, literally anything's possible, especially if he plays at a level that he actually should play at. I just, I like the audacity. I like the unmitigated goal. And if we talk more about the Lakers, just like Stephen A., we might get picked up by ESPN. Hey man, we're at this point, we're a Lakers Knicks podcast. I might wear my Heat stuff or my Dolphins stuff every day to try to represent for Miami, but at this point, we're a Lakers Knicks podcast, and Devin doesn't even need to be on the show, and we're talking about the Lakers. No, absolutely not.
We got the second best Knicks fan watching us right now. The second best.
Yeah, we do. So does that mean you're the first best Knicks fan? Where does Spike Lee fit into all that? Where
somewhere like around fourth.
Okay. Yes. Spike Lee, we should send him a medal from the athleteshub.com. 4th biggest Knicks fan.
Yes. Look, there's only two fans better than me. And I'm both.
Okay. You're both of them. Gotcha. You and your other personality. It's like you and Slim Shady. Yes. All right. So I've got for this question, I guess I'll answer it myself here. I got the Minnesota Timberwolves. I've been pretty impressed with lately. It's not as fun to talk about as the Lakers, who I will before we completely get off the Lakers bandwagon or sad wagon, whatever you want to call it for that. They do play I believe their next 3 NBA games are nationally televised on like ABC, TNT, ESPN. So go watch those games and see if Isaiah's right, if they do click, and if they don't, then I mean you get to watch the Lakers suck, which for 29 fan bases is always fun.
That's fine too. Yeah.
All right.
This is
So,
a win-win situation for me. So,
oh, honestly, yeah. It's like, oh, if they win, you're right. If they lose, then it's just fun to watch. You're like,
yeah, that's
another team toiling in mediocrity. We love it. Speaking of teams that are trying to get out of mediocrity, I'm a professional. The Minnesota Timberwolves. They're 8-4 in their last 12. I've been loving what they're doing on the offensive end and the defensive end. They've just managed to play good on both ends. D'Angelo Russell. I would like to personally write an apology letter to you. I did not believe in you on the Warriors. I did not have a Twitter account with me talking about it at the time, but among some friends, I was very low on D'Angelo Russell with the Warriors. Since the trade for Andrew Wiggins, he has been a little bit injured in Minnesota. So it was really cool for me to watch him actually kind of kill it on that end. I mean, you love him so much, you had to take the jacket off. It was, man, I love D'Angelo Russell's passing. And he's just been revolutionary for him. He had there was a couple of games ago where the teammates weren't getting too hot and he put like 23 points up in the fourth. I mean, he was killing it. Yeah, and going down the team, Anthony Edwards has some stinky games recently, but man, can he play some defense. And that is a large tribute to Pat Beverly. He's changed his team defensively from the bench, and you can just see him on the court. I watched that Timberwolves 76ers game, and even in their loss, you could see Patrick Beverly on that court right next to Chris Finch, their head coach, just yelling, barking orders. Good for him. I love Pat Beverly, even though he's he's universally hated around the league. He's one of those guys that if he was on my team, I'd love him. Exactly. And I can honestly come to that conclusion other than other teams that are, I hated PJ Tucker as I thought he was just like angry, aggressive, kind of like in your face defender. And then he goes on the Heat and I start to fall in love with the guy. I will like to say, though, I've been holding on to this take for a while. And Carlos, you are correct. Mavs are scary. Luka Doncic is insane. And Spencer Dinwiddie, if he can keep hitting step back threes like he did the other night, I'm really impressed with the Mavs specifically. But I would like to make it a point. I've been sitting on this take for a while. So Isaiah, I want you to go through this with me. Karl Anthony Towns is really good. And I'm sick and tired of saying old NBA players who didn't have to get in nearly the amount of conditioning that you would need to play in the 2020s talk crap about Karl Anthony Towns. I would love to see Charles Oakley chase Karl Anthony Towns around 4 screens per possession 40 times a game and guard him out on the perimeter. I'm not saying that Karl Anthony Towns could go into 1980 and become a MVP candidate. But what I'm saying is stop acting like you're going to come out here and guard a guy 90 feet to 90 feet when he's running all over the place the whole time. That's all I have to say about that. I love our old NBA players. I love our list of 75 that we just got released a couple of weeks ago for the All-Star team. Love seeing MJ over there with LeBron James, but goodness, man, I'm really sick of these older players crapping on these new guys. I mean, they're doing their best. They're doing good. I wish, you can look back in the 60s. Those dudes were smoking before the games. All right, I'm gonna stop. That's all I'm saying. The Timberwolves are good. When your 3 best players are averaging almost 4 assists a game and 1 has 7, and there's one other guy named Patrick Beverly averaging 5, you're doing a good job. You're doing a really good job. Oak is real and has to spit truth. I didn't expect any I didn't expect non-bias from a Knicks fan. I'll be quite honest. Charles Oakley is real. Charles Oakley is a great player, but he's not guarding Karl Anthony Towns 40 minutes a game running through screens all day. I'm just sorry. It's not happening. He's a big paint bruiser. That's what he's meant to do. He's an elite rim protector. Yeah.
I'm just glad. Really quick, I just want to say I'm just glad that Karl Anthony Towns is getting some love because he's been one of those guys until this year, obviously he's been through a lot the past, not to mention what has happened, in his personal life. But he was one of those guys that's always been kind of unfairly hated. In my opinion. I'm Guy's young. He has talent, and he didn't have much to work with the Timberwolves. And remember, early on in the season, I said if the only thing I could think of that's probably more frustrating than being a Knicks fan would probably be being a Timberwolves fan, just because at least they have like a tease. Like you have Karl Anthony Towns, you have such a generational talent. Like, he said himself, probably the best shooting big man of all time, and I have to agree for the most. I mean, I got to think about it a little bit, but I would be inclined to agree with him. Karl Anthony Towns, you have Russell and Edwards. That's such a core. Like you should be able to get it done. That's such a tease,
Oh yeah,
so I agree
and they're only going to get better.
Yeah. So hopefully, because I've been saying that about the Timberwolves for a long time now, and they just
we've been doing a lot of like, oh yeah, once the Timberwolves figure it out, they're going to be absurd. Once Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell and Kevin Love and and put any player that's played for the Timberwolves, Andrew Wiggins, he figured it out. He had to go to another team, but he figured it out. We spent a lot of time. Towns needs to ask for a trade. Carlos to the Knicks. Why? Stop making this about the Knicks. It's always about the Knicks. I'm surrounded by Knicks fans. I don't even live. I live in Florida. I'm surrounded by too many Knicks fans. All y'all transplants coming down here.
To be fair, I think a lot of us were
in Central Florida.
To be fair, I think a lot of us were calling for a Towns trade. I don't know if you were, but prior to this season.
Yeah, no, you're right. There was a lot of like the Andrew, who's better, Anthony Edwards or Karl Anthony Towns? Is Karl Anthony Towns going to let this become Anthony Edwards' team? And I think after this past year, they're playing a little bit over 500. They're 32-29 at the moment, 7th in the West. I believe in this team going forward, at least as a competitive first round team. I don't see them making it past the first round, especially if they're going to be playing the Warriors or Suns or, honestly, anybody. But yeah, I'm interested to see what the Timberwolves do for the rest of the year. For the Indiana Pacers and the Bulls. Interesting.
Forget the last message he said.
All right, so just moving on. Right. We're about 30 minutes into this thing. I got a couple more topics we got to talk about. I posed this question to you during the last couple of days. We got the All-Star weekend a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, I don't think that other than the game and maybe the Rising Stars Challenge, there was a lot of hype around the weekend. I know that the dunk contest was seen as generally disappointing, so much so that I didn't watch it and only saw the clips on YouTube, which I was left missing Aaron Gordon and missing Zach LaVine. And like, we need to figure out a way to get these stars to play in the dunk contest. We're watching John Morant and Zach LaVine throw down dunks in the All-Star game when they could have been there yesterday doing the same exact thing in the slam dunk contest. But instead we had Juan Toscano-Anderson. At least Obi Toppin and him. And, they did a good job. I'm not going to like completely poo-poo everything that they did. Our buddy Chuck doing a good job over there, but generally seen as like not the most excited for All-Star weekend, especially the former players. D Wade even saying that on broadcast. But Isaiah, as we're gonna play a little game here. You are Adam Silver at this moment. He gives the reins to you. He says, Isaiah, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I need you to come up with a way to make this new All-Star game or any event during All-Star weekend. I need you to figure out a way to make this more popular. What would you tell Adam Silver that he needs to change for All-Star weekend?
Well, look, we talk about this kind of concept in a lot of projects, right? And things that you do in life. If people see that you don't particularly care about what you're doing, whether it's a podcast, a show, or anything, why would you expect them to care, right? So, there are a lot of potential things you could add to the All-Star weekend, and I think we discussed something. I'm going to leave that to you next, but I'm thinking about what we already have and how we can make it better. And the dunk contest was so special to the league. You think about the Vince Carters, the Michael Jordans, Kobe being in there, of course, Dominique Wilkins putting it on the map, right? So how can we take this prestigious, what should be prestigious event, and make it better. And John Morant kind of told you why there's not really stars there. He said the goal is not high enough. It's not like there's not really an incentive. Like in other words, we don't care. Like, why do we, it's lost its prestige. So I was watching First Take the other day, and there's a lot of nonsense. I usually go there for a laugh for the most part. But Stephen A, I looked at the clock. I was like, am I dreaming or what? He made a really good point, and I couldn't get it out of my head. He said, if these guys don't care, he's like, you go to Rutgers Park, you go to you go to different basketball courts around it. They're putting on better dunk contests than what you see in the league. These guys could really play. They just haven't been blessed with some of the opportunities to get to the league or whatever. Maybe they're just a dunker. So what if you have NBA All-Stars that, made the league, could possibly like sponsor, these dunkers around the world. Maybe there's some type of competition. There's social media, so it's not like we have to scavenge every single part of the world.
You're not going to Greece to find like dudes in the second division like Giannis. You just got to go open YouTube, go look up a Jordan Kilgannon dunk poster remix or whatever. You'll find them. You're not wrong.
Exactly. So I think these guys could put on a better show, and they'll want to win. There'll be hunger. There'll be a sense of, dare I say, not desperation, but like real want to. Mm-hmm. So unless you tell me next, that Zion's going to get in shape and John Morant, decides he wants to go in there, or Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon want to square off again, these guys don't care. So let's get people that do care. So how about we get those international guys, those guys on the street, and just put together a good show and then just let it be fun. It sounds crazy at first, but I just feel like if it were to happen, that first show, somebody pulls off and I've seen some insane dunks these guys pull off. If you do that on the big stage, that's it. Dunk contest revitalized. We have a special event again.
You bring up a great point with the just like bringing dudes off the street. Not like we're gonna go get like a homeless dude off the street. But it is funny when I say that. Like, oh yeah, let's just go get some dudes living, off the street. I just think you're not only are 100% correct, but you are. I mean, just go watch the. I don't remember the name of it. There was a dunk contest show on not ESPN, on some whatever YouTube channel. You can go Google it. I mean, like, go look up dunk contest show. Go watch the NBA stars, Kenny Smith, Shaq, who are like, they're judging these contests. And of course they have a vested interest in making it seem more hype than it is, because I bet you they're producers and like have money involved in the show. But those dudes were getting so hype off of these dunks, which would have been like 50s if they were in the NBA dunk contest. Like, these dudes were doing between the legs 360s, elbow in the rim. They're dunking they're doing like behind the back stuff. He's like Jordan Kilgannon. I keep bringing up his name because he's just an insane dunker. Go look up this man's content. He does like this dunk where he puts the ball back here and dunks it like this. And it's absurd. It's just absolutely incredible. And I would love to see them just get like, maybe not for the future of the dunk contest, but more so of like these are dudes who are putting in a ton of work every single day to become artistic with dunks. They're, if not their own way, an artist when it comes to street performance with the basketball. Give them a platform. Give them a way to, increase their brand. I mean, I think a great idea that would translate right off of that is, imagine we have a NBA skills competition, maybe not skills, but more so like a 3v3 game. And instead of getting G League players or, guys like that, I know we had a couple of this year with the 4 teams and the 3v3 or whatever we had there. Why don't we get like some street ball legends? Like, get the professor out there, get that dude. I don't know his name, but get the dude who dresses up like Spider-Man and goes and dunks and in like Rucker Park, or get the, you know what I'm talking about? There's like, you go to those Instagram videos and there's like a dude dressed up like like Dumbledore doing crossovers. Like, I want to see stuff like that. I love the NBA talent we've got this year, but the All-Star Weekend's supposed to be fun, and it shouldn't have a bunch of people complaining on it. In our podcast notes, I noted that I think that a good one would be if we had the All-Star game on a blacktop. So that would be really cool if we just had like a blacktop game. Carlos mentions he wants to see foreigners who are drafted play in the United States. Isn't that what we do with the international Rising Stars game? Or does he mean like the draft and stash players? I think that would be cool. I do
Oh,
think that would be cool. Oh,
that's a
Carlos,
good
that would
point.
be pretty nasty.
That's a
That would
good
be pretty
point.
nice.
I
That.
didn't know that's what he was going for either.
Yeah, if you have like a guy who's like, like Luca, like a good example would have been Luca if they'd stashed him, or I mean, I guess like a good one would be like Bogdanovich that plays for the Utah Jazz. He spent a couple of years overseas, was drafted by the Miami Heat actually, and then had to spend 3 years overseas because of a contract. If he could come over and be like, hey, this guy's about to be in the NBA, and if he's good enough, I mean, that's just a pretty decent way to bring those dudes a little bit more attention. Yeah. All right, Isaiah, we're almost wrapped up here. We're hitting the 40-minute mark. I've got one more topic for you.
We got
pretty
Carlos
simple.
for Dev, right?
Huh? Yeah, Carlos fitting for Dev,
Carlos
throwing opinions in there. Love it. Alley-oop, man. He's point god, assist man right now. I got a couple of just a simple question for you. Who you got for MVP?
I've been thinking about this, right? Because I don't want to really go the repeat route because I feel like there tends to be like something against that happening all the time. And I'll be honest, I didn't really have too much time to look at all the numbers, but I just know when I last looked at it, and actually I think when we did the I'm going to be kind of backtracking a little bit because when we did our draft and you drafted Embiid, and I'm like, hey, no, you drafted Joker, right?
Yeah, I drafted Jokic, yeah.
And I said, hey, I don't even think he's the best center in this, like in the draft. I'm leaning towards Jokic. I'm gonna go with Jokic. I'm going with that. I will say my next one would be as much as I want to put Giannis in there, because really, like, if I could vote, just because I like Giannis, man. Giannis, like, I just don't see them voting him again. He's good defensively, offensively. I just think there's, like you said, it seems like they're in the dog days now. They're just trying to get to the playoffs. So I don't think there's much appeal as there once was. But you look at him, Jokic, sorry, averaging 25, 13, and 8, roughly by himself, and still keeping the Nuggets in contention. Because there was worry, when Jamal Murray was down, and now then you had Michael Porter Jr. down. It's like, okay, so how are they gonna, stay above float? All together with Austin Rivers. I mean, Aaron Gordon's there too, but Monte Morris has done well as well. So it's not like he's been by himself, but I
mean, they got DeMarcus Cousins playing backup center minutes, doing actually good. Yeah, like he's actually doing well.
So they've done well. But I think especially now with Michael Porter Jr. coming back, supposedly sometime in March, I feel like they're going to pick up a little bit of steam in the playoffs. They're going to make a nice run. And I think Harden being there with Embiid kind of hurts him a little bit. Not in my view, but I'm just thinking of how the voters have been over the past couple of years. They're going, he has Harden now. Why would they say that? I have no idea, but I just have a feeling that's what they're going to do. So I am going with Jokic.
I mean, you have, I think right at the end there, you made the best argument for him because there's a lot of Jokic or Embiid, and Embiid was the person that I wanted to highlight here. I think right now on February 28th, 2022, I believe he is generally like the best like candidate for the winning of this award. However, I believe that your point with James Harden is not only the most important, but is like the one that people are going to look at. James Harden comes to this team after Embiid is averaging 30, 11, and 4. And as good as Joel Embiid is for the next 20 so games, you're not going to be able to look past, okay, but he had James Harden those last couple of weeks. And especially if they keep running on a tear like this, and especially if James Harden keeps going insane like he did the last 2 games, it's going to be hard for voters to kind of look at Embiid and think to himself like, oh, this guy did it all by himself, kind of like what Jokic is doing.
Yeah.
That being said, with Embiid, they're 3rd in the East before Harden even got there. He's quite possibly the best defensive center in the NBA. Although there would be some argument with other guys, I think that unanimously, if you were to ask NBA fans who's the best defensive center in the NBA, you'd get either one of Giannis, Embiid, and then some like really some really like fun and very insightful. And Miami Heat fans would probably say Bam, but I'm not ready to do that yet just because he's only 6'9". Although Bam is very, very good, top 5 defensive. I'm completely forgetting Rudy Gobert here. Oh my goodness. Oh man.
Mitchell Robinson. Hello.
Stop. Quit. Get help. The Michael Jordan gif. I need you to play it. He's Embiid's one of the best defensive centers in the entire league. He's able to pass out of double teams as an elite level. Now he's averaging more assists this season than any season he's ever had in his career. And that's with more ball handling responsibilities, of course. But the thing that makes that the most impressive is that his turnovers are down all across the board. So he's able to pass more with less turnovers. He's getting double teamed. And when you're the focus of the offense, from watching the Knicks with Carmelo for all those years, when you're able to still put up the numbers while you're the main focus of the offense, there's just another level of talent that you have to have. When Carmelo Anthony is like the big name on the pad on the whiteboard when you start, and you still let him drop 35 on you, and you still are let him get like 16 rebounds, 4 assists. That's just another level of talent. And the same argument could be made for Jokic even more. When you have Nikola Jokic on your team and your entire defensive game plan is stop him, and he doesn't, and you can't stop him because he's so freaking good, what are you really going to do? You can't. When you have your best defender playing that man and he is still doing what he can do, both of them specifically. And I love the fact that they're both centers. After years and years and years of the NBA trying to get rid of the center position, for the 3 best MVP candidates this season to all kind of be centers. I don't know what you want to classify Giannis as. I do think it's absurd that he's able to, that we're able to look and go, oh yeah, the 2 best players in the NBA this season, 2 7-foot dudes who are centers. The MVP talk is one of the ones that we have throughout the season. DeMar DeRozan, we mentioned a little bit earlier. He has a pretty decent shot. Carlos says they're not centers. My man, they are listed on NBA.com as centers. They're centers. They might have the ball the most in their league, but they're 7 feet. We talked DeMar DeRozan. DeMar is absolutely absurd this year, averaging like 38 in the last couple of games. Honestly, if the Bulls if DeMar DeRozan was as electrifying defensively as Embiid and as electrifying offensively with the passing as Jokic, I think there might be a little bit more of a argument for him. I think when it comes to the Bulls, I don't think he gets enough credit. Everybody wants to give him a ton of credit, and they're like, oh yeah, but he has Caruso and Lonzo and Vucevic. And then you look and you go, oh, but they haven't played since January, and the Bulls are still winning. DeMar DeRozan is just absurd, and he needs to be brought up in this conversation. Your Warriors man himself, Steph Curry, used to be the leader of this race. Where do you see him? I know the Warriors haven't been as good as they did, especially with Draymond out. Do you see Steph Curry kind of, you saw that practice? I know you saw this, the video of him shooting shots in practice, absolutely draining everything. Do you see Steph making his way back into this? They're still the 2nd seed in the West. And no, you're shaking your head there.
I don't see it. I would like it because cause I think I picked actually Steph Curry early on too. So I'm still going to go down with the ship until I can't, but I'm not feeling optimistic at all. No real the struggles that he had, I think it was January. That's when he went through a little bit of a stretch after breaking the 3-point record. He lost a ton of momentum. It's really hard to recover that. So we'll kind of like how we just mentioned DeMar DeRozan at the end. I'll mention Steph Curry a little bit further back, but so maybe top 5. Maybe he makes his way into the top 3 if he catches fire, but I think it's a little bit too late. But who knows? Steph Curry is one of the likable guys in the league, and if he blows hard enough, he might just steal the votes. Will he deserve it at that point? Probably not. But again, I'm leaning towards no. If I had to bet, I'll give him like a 1% chance out of respect at this point, but that's about it.
If it were me, and if I had to make a prediction right now, I would probably vote Harden. Wow. I
Yeah,
would vote
great next season.
Embiid. If right now, if it were me, I would vote Embiid 1, Jokic 2, DeRozan 3, Giannis 4, Steph 5. And I really think that the Giannis 4 is just as a testament to how good of a defensive player he is. He's
Yeah,
offensively just absurd still.
yeah,
And you got to give credit where credit is due. They might be having a slump, and I might have talked about them a little bit unfavorably this podcast, but hey, everybody has their day, and Bucks had it for about 4 months before this little week stretch they had here. So yeah, we're at the 50-minute mark, my friend.
yeah,
We're doing pretty good. I think we might be signing off here in just a
yeah,
minute. We got a couple of games going on
yeah.
tonight. We've got some future pieces coming out on the athleteshub.org. Please go check out all of our content. We do a bunch of podcasts every week. We got this one on Mondays along with free baseball that I know that you're a part of. How's it been going on
Yes.
that end? You guys been having a good time?
We did really good. I decided to do my best impression of Dev and you today. I hosted the last one, and I think moving
Hey.
forward, that might be what we do. So I'm like, I think I'm ready to take that big step. So it was a really good draft, just like ours was really good. And by the way, I just want to do a little follow up on that. The results don't matter. Just because you got more votes than me doesn't mean anything. Okay, but yeah, I think Gary. I think we need to acknowledge it. I think even my closest friends are like, "Hey, I love you, but I'm going Gary." So I got to
Hey,
get.
it's funny you say that. So for those who are still with us and don't know what we're talking about, we did a All-Star draft a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
We had, we were here for about an hour drafting every single player. We ended up with some pretty good teams. I got stuck with Andrew Wiggins and my starters, but still, according to Isaiah's friends, yeah, he's got it up there on the screen at the top right-hand corner. According to some of my friends, I'm the winner here. Or some of your friends, I'm the winner. To my friends, I had a couple of conversations with a few buddies of mine. One of my coworkers, who I know follows the NBA, he was really happy about your team. He was like, "Yo, he's got LeBron," and I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "That's all you need." And I was like, "I mean,
Okay.
sure, tell that to the Lakers," but at the same time, like, I think it's funny though that your friends like mine and my friends like yours.
You know what's crazy? I just have to mention really quick because I'm at work, right? And my boss calls me. And I'm like, okay, something work related, whatever. Why'd you pick LeBron James with the first pick? I was like, oh shoot, oh man, it was really like the talk of the town for a little while. So
you got the phone place booming over here.
literally.
Calls going all over the place, asking
Yes.
why is Isaiah picking LeBron? It's almost if he's the second best player of all time.
All right, guys. Why don't you guys pick Kevin Durant? I'm like, he's hurt, but
he's hurt.
So.
I would, what? That's probably, it's funny. That would have probably been the first pick if LeBron wasn't hurt. I think we did talk about that during the podcast. Go check that out. We're gonna, it's on YouTube, Athletes Hub. The Athletes Hub YouTube channel. You can go find it. Just Google it. We're the most subscribed YouTube channel named The Athletes Hub. There might be 4, but we're the best one. All right, guys, we're signing off here. Go check out the rest of our content. I did forget to mention we've got the False 9 happening weekly, so go check that out if you're a big soccer fan. We got free baseball with Isaiah. We got deep takes from 3. We'll have Dev back here. We'll be all set. We're gonna get going. As always, I'm Gary. That's Isaiah. You all have a wonderful day. And before we sign off, I just need to say one thing. Go Heat. Goodbye, my friends.
And even with all of it, and thank you, Carlos, for tuning in, by the way. We end this show with, one second, good stuff, and go.
What did he said go Knicks and then he left. I think he meant to say go Knicks. Oh God. All right. Well, y'all have a good time. I'm going to stop here.